Welcome back to the Preview Show. I'm Casey Campbell, and you know that's Jonathan Fiel from the Racing Experts. And yes, we are finally here. Daytona 500 week is here.
It's like Christmas week, but for NASCAR fans. We get 2 Christmas weeks. How awesome is that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you, but I've the channel has been, I've been talking to so many drivers from the Cup Series, Xfinity Series, Truck Series, ARCA Series, getting you ready for the season. You'll have, by the way, just a kind of a plug in here, you'll see an interview with Harrison Rhodes I did. Yes, he is back for the 52 for Jimmy Means. So that interview will go up, and you got a chance to talk to somebody, a pretty good friend of mine.
Yes, I got a chance to talk with Thad Moffitt. Of course, he's going to be making his NASCAR Camping World Truck Series debut this Friday at Daytona. Got to talk to him about that. Also going to be talking with Tommy Joe Martins tomorrow. A couple different interviews. Stories will be up on the racingexperts.com.
Of course, Thad Moffitt is the grandson of Richard Petty. And of course, for the first time since 2008, a Petty is back in NASCAR's top 3 series. I know Thad's run ARCA in the past. So obviously you two have had a good conversation. Anytime I talk with Thad, it's always fun. And of course, Tommy Joe Martins is somebody I've talked with several times throughout the off season. A lot of big things going on at Alpha Prime Racing. So look for good stuff as always there. We got to talk about so many things that are happening this week. Starting tonight, the racing already started this weekend with the modifieds. By the way, congrats, Matt Hirschman, on the big win there. ARCA East is tonight at New Smyrna, part of the World Series of Asphalt. Of course, the modified race was also part of the World Series of Asphalt as well. 9 days, of course, available on Flow Racing. Charlie Crawl and Adam Mackey will be on the call for that one, along with Jesse Punch on pit road. Of course, at the time of recording, practice is going on right now. And we'll get going on in a few minutes. But let's talk about the Daytona 500 for a sec. We'll kind of dab into Xfinity, kind of go into trucks a little bit too. But this is kind of a jam-packed episode of the preview show a little bit. We're going to get more in depth in some other topics later on in the week. But I want to talk about the Daytona 500. We have 42 cars in the race. 40 cars are going to run, 2 are going home. We had some interesting entries, 2 entries that for years have teased that they're going to go. And of course, I'm talking about NY Racing and the Money Team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no one ever thought, a lot of people did not think we would see these 2 teams at Daytona. Of course, the Money Team was teased at the end of 2018. NY Racing, of course, they used to have their brightly colored paint schemes back in the day, race with Scott Riggs, J.J. Ailey, other drivers like that in 13 and 14. The common joke was that they were going to have a car at Texas, but they finally have a car at Daytona with Greg Biffle. Very interesting entry there. I don't think we expected to see Greg Biffle back in a car for the Daytona 500 this year, but great to see the Biff back. And great opportunity for Kaz Grala as well with the Money Team. Of course, I keep wanting to say Evander Holyfield. It's Floyd Mayweather who's behind the Money Team. And a brightly colored car there, a great opportunity for Kaz. He's going to be running, I think, something like 12 to 15 races this season, a very road course focused schedule. What a great opportunity for Kaz, and what a great opportunity for NASCAR to have another celebrity owner break it into the sport who's really going to provide a lot of financial backing, a lot of exposure to the sport.
Kaz Grala is going to have a busy year this year. Of course, got a chance to talk to Kaz right when that Money Team announcement went out. Of course, he had his Pit Viper shades on for that. Of course, it's definitely for sure exciting for him. And he'll be a very busy person this year because he'll be running for Alpha Prime Racing for some select races. And then he's also going to be running for Young's Motorsports in the Truck Series as well, splitting the 0-2 ride with Jesse Little. Of course, talking about a lot of these things, we'll get to the Daytona 500 in just a minute, but I want to touch on some things in Xfinity and trucks a little bit as well. Plus, I also want to talk about some ARCA stuff too. Let's go to Xfinity. We didn't get 50 cars. We got 47, right around the entry list we had last year. But the difference is 9 cars are going home.
9 cars, yeah. And there's a lot of good entries that are in that go or go home situation. You have Anthony Alfredo, you have Ryan Sieg, you have, of course, Cesar Baccarello with their new Alpha Prime operation. You have Greg Galding, who did well on the super speedways a couple years ago. It's going to be interesting to see who gets into the race. Of course, last year, that was a big point, but then, of course, qualifying got rained out. So this year, we're going to get to see that play out. It's going to be a lot of fun. Of course, some changes to the rules. We'll kind of touch on that a little bit of how the owner's points and the attempts work, but it's going to be very hotly contested for those spots.
So let's get into that, because we're talking about Xfinity. Why don't you talk about the changes that we had, including this previous winner's provisional?
I wrote it down in my notes. We're talking about the owner's points. It's not based on I believe the number of attempts anymore. It's about the owner points strictly, and also there's a provisional in place for winners. Last season, if the past champions provisional is not used. Of course, Daniel Hemrick is the only one of the field who would be eligible for the past champions provisional. I think that's a good move. Reward the winners with a little extra incentive, a spot in the field if, something happens, if there's a mechanical failure, a tire, something happens, for them to be able to still get into the race and not have to fall out. I think that's a really good thing. Of course, 33 will qualify in time, 5 provisionals, 38 car field for the Xfinity race.
Yeah, it's gonna be tight trying to get in. There's a lot of cars that I think could get in, but may struggle getting in. You got the 2 Harmon cars. We didn't know really much about what they were going to do. We didn't really know much about the 52. And then surprise, Harrison Rhodes is in the 52. Plus you have 3 hour cars. Ty Gibbs he's still not confirmed, but he's going. So you got the Gibbs cars, 2 RCR cars, 3 Colleague cars, 4 Junior Motorsports cars. Xfinity's going to be really, really competitive. And we're going to talk more about that later on in the week because, we got I want to basically talk about a lot of the things in Xfinity and in trucks. So we're going to talk about more of them later on this week. Yes, there will be multiple preview shows. I don't know if you know that. This is a big week, so it's getting in there. So Xfinity, let's go to trucks. 42 trucks are in the field for this race. I know that I've been all over that truck series entry list. But there's a lot of nervousness there too. With a lot of new teams, a lot of new places, the resurgence of KBM, Thor Sport, of course, Ty Majeski's full-time again. Grant Enfinger jumps to GMS. You got BMR now Chevrolet. Zane Smith is now at Front Row. Hattori's a 2-truck team. Neat has completely revamped their lineup outside of Carson Hocevar. And then you got CR7 as well. I mean, they got Blaine Perkins running full time for that team in a truck that really ran well with Grant in there. So lots of storylines in the truck series. What do you think? What do you think's the biggest one that you're looking at?
I think the biggest one is Johnny Sauter moving to run for Gtg Racing. I think that's going to be very interesting to see how Johnny does. I think of the super speedways, Johnny brings a lot of know-how and prowess to those races. But once we get to the speedways, how is Johnny going to do? Because in the past couple seasons, we've seen Johnny miss the playoffs with Thor Sport Racing and have some struggles. So now that he's with a team that doesn't have arguably as many resources as Thor Sport, what is he going to be able to do? Is he going to be able to build that team? Is he going to struggle? I think that's going to be one of the interesting points to watch. Also, Ty Majeski going full-time with Thor Sport. Great opportunity for a driver who I think many in the racing community would say is very deserving of an opportunity like that.
Remember, Johnny Sauter will still be running part-time for that team. About 5-7 races, and guess what? Junior Joyner's coming back to be the crew chief. So, of course, Junior's out doing some business stuff out in California, so he'll be back on there. Of course, some other stories that you mentioned: Gtg Racing. Matt Jasko will be full time in the 46. You mentioned Thad Moffitt; he'll be in there for about 12-15 races. They're trying to go the full schedule, but as obviously, as you know, sponsorship's always been the biggest thing, especially with Thad the last few years. I think he's got some partners with him this year. A lot of his partners that you saw on the ARCA car are back. Obviously, that will be announced in due time. But yeah, a couple other also Matt Benedetto is running full time in the truck series.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, running for Rackley Ware Racing. Rackley War Racing. Don't know where I get the Rackley Ware pronunciation from, but it's there's a lot of names to pronounce. Matt Benedetto, there's one. I know that trips up a lot of people. It's gonna be interesting to see how he does with that team, because they didn't show much performance last season, but of course it was the debut season for that team. Have they worked on some things to improve the performance for 2022? What's Matt going to bring to the team? We saw how Matt brought a lot to Levine Family Racing back in 2019. We saw what he did for the Wood Brothers to give some really consistent performances. Can he do the same? Can he bring that team to a playoff contending level? I think it'll be interesting. Also interesting to just see Matt Benedetto in the truck series, because he's never raced in the truck series before. Of course, he moved up to Xfinity, then moved up to Cup. So get a lot of new things going on with that team.
I want to touch on ARCA for just a second. I know that Charlie and I know that we talked about it last week this week on the ARCA preview show earlier this week. Of course, that will be throughout the season, of course, with Charlie Crawl from the ARCA Menard series. Of course, we'll talk about that. But I want to ask you this too. Lots of interesting storylines there. You have Tony Breidinger going full time with that team. You have Daniel Dye, and then you also have Nick Sanchez and Raja Carruth from Rev Racing, 2 cars in that championship. I know you and I have talked to them several times throughout 2021. I got a chance to talk to both drivers in 2022. How do you think ARCA is going to play out this year?
I think we'll see Sammy Smith really perform well. I think he has a lot of talent. I think he could perform at the level of like a Corey Heim, win several races, be a spoiler in many of the races. But when you talk about the full-timers, I'm really excited to see how Daniel Dye is going to do. We saw him run part-time last season in ARCA, and he showed a lot of strength. He was able to run with Ty Gibbs. He was able to run with Corey Heim. And I think now being a part of this dedicated effort to run for the championship, I think we're going to see what Daniel Dye can really do behind the wheel of his car. And also, Nick Sanchez, what a way to end off the season last season by getting the win at Kansas. And it'll be interesting to see what he can do this season. I think we could see a good battle between Nick Sanchez and Daniel Dye. That's not to count out Raja Carruth. But I do think this is going to be a very big learning year for Raja. He's making the step from, ARCA East to running, the ARCA Championship, running a little bit of Xfinity. It's a year where he's going to be out of the fridge and into the frying pan, but I think we're going to see some good development out of him this year.
Fridge and out of the frying pan. Where'd you get that from, Jonathan? Like a Mike Joyce saying right there. I don't know. It's like, wow. All right. Lots of storylines there. Of course, the ARCA Championship. I'll be there at Toledo, so it'll be exciting to watch that as well. We got the Daytona 500 this weekend. What are we going to expect in this race? Because the big story is, we've seen it on, social media. Everyone's been talking about it. It's the car and the supply and the parts shortage. I mean, I thought I heard Rudy Fuqua say yesterday on Sirius XM that he's going to potentially bring his Daytona 500 car to the West Coast swing, and I think you might see a lot of teams to be doing just that. With this car can run anywhere. You could take a super speedway car and run it at a short track. You can take a mile and a half car and run it at Bristol Dirt, and you can take a dirt car and you can run it on a road course. That car can do it all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and when you mentioned that a lot of the teams are thinking about taking their Daytona 500 car and going to the West Coast with it, I feel nervous for the teams. I really feel nervous for the teams because in the last few Daytona 500s, ever since 2017, we have just seen carnage in these races, cars getting destroyed, parts getting broken. And I just worry for what the teams are going to have to face, going into the West Coast swing. The West Coast swing is already tough enough with having to maneuver the logistics of going all the way across the country with the haulers and everything. On top of it, trying to cobble together parts and pieces and, I'm nervous for the teams. And I think everybody's very nervous for what we're going to see in the 500. But at the same time, I think we have a good package on our hands for the race to where the drivers can race hard, but also be conservative and still put on a good show for the fans. Also, I want to mention some statistics. So in the recent years of the Daytona 500, 2021 wrecked 30 out of the 40 cars were involved in wrecks, 33 out of 40 in 20, 36 out of 40 in 19, 29 out of 40 in 18, 33 out of 40 in 17. There's some nervousness, but the crew chief is going to be screaming in the driver's ear, hey, just remember, the West Coast, we got to make it there. But I think we have a good package on our hands that could really let them race.
Remember, this car can be put together pretty quickly, as we saw with what RCR had to do during one of the next gen tests with Tyler Reddick. So, and that's going to be another storyline. We'll get it into the separate storylines throughout the week. I think I have some, videos and stuff planned for that. But now it is time. Do you know what it's time for, Jonathan?
I do know what it's time for. What is it time for?
The audience, what it's time for.
It is time for the picks. We got to pick our drivers. We've got to do ARCA East. We got to do Xfinity. We got to do trucks. We got to do Cup. Heck, we'll even do the duels in qualifying if Casey so allows it. Casey, do the honors.
Okay, so of course, a little bit of course, as you saw, remember last year, the picks, of course, we pick Cup, Xfinity, trucks. We even pick ARCA. But this time around, we're going to have a preview show championship between the 8 of us. Of course, as you know, the regular people that you see on this channel, of course, Jonathan, as well as myself, along with Mitchell Brewer, RJ Starsvik, is at New Smyrna tonight, covering for TobyChristie.com. Nathan Solomon, a proud New Yorker who just got back from the Super Bowl Radio Row. Our good friend, modified friend, Marty Zakala. The one, the only Taylor Kitchen, and someone with all the hot takes. Of course, that's Harry Loomis. Yeah, of course, the 8 of us will be involved in that, and it'll be fun. The winner gets a little something from me. $500 Visa gift card. Yeah, we're going big this year.
We are going big.
Yeah. Okay, so separate from everything else, let's pick ARCA. Let's start with the ARCAs. There's 2 of them. Tonight's ARCA East race, who you got?
Tonight's ARCA East race, he's had a big week of announcements and a lot of hype and anticipation. Of course, the announcement was made last week, but it's been a week since it was announced, so it counts. Sammy Smith, I think, gets it done at New Smyrna tonight.
Now, remember, Sammy Smith will be running for KBM this year. That basically replaces Joe Gibbs Racing this year on the ARCA side of things. Also, Drew Dollar will be running for that team as well in the races that Sammy can't. So, yeah, of course, Sammy Smith back in KBM equipment again. Of course, he ran for that team when he was in late models and stuff. So, yeah, it'll be exciting there. I got Sammy Smith as well. So, it's definitely going to see what KBM equipment can do. Mark McFarland's still the crew chief for that 18 ARCA team. So, they got a lot of wins. They also put Kyle Busch in the Xfinity win at Road America last year. So this team is a winner. Okay, from the short track at New Smyrna to the big track at Daytona for the ARCA Menard Series Saturday for the General Tire 200. All right, who you got in that one?
We saw a great race last year for the ARCA Menard Series at Daytona, and it's always a fun way to kick off. Well, I guess it doesn't really kick off Speed Weeks anymore because it's not before the Bud Shootout and the Clash anymore, but it's still a fun way to kick off the Saturday afternoon of racing. And I think the driver that's going to kick off the season with a win, I think he goes 2 in a row in this race. I think Corey Heim gets it done at Daytona.
That's going to be exciting. I know that 20 car is going to be a very, very good pick. Venturini has dominated the Daytona ARCA race as well, and they've got a fleet of cars that are going to be very powerful. However, I know that everyone talks about these streaks and getting broken because you never know what's going to happen at Daytona. But I got to go with the consistency. Venturini has won. In fact, I believe, like 3 out of the last 4 years, maybe, the 20 car has won at Daytona and trying to make it 2 in a row, but that's going to get done today. I'll take Corey Harm as well. So it's going to be an interesting one. Venturini's always been dominant at this track, and it'll be an interesting one to see how they do this weekend.
I have to say, with all the anticipation, all the hype there, I thought for sure you're going to go against me there, but you did not. And actually, you mentioned Venturini's streak at Daytona. The team has won with Michael Self, with Harrison Burden. They've won each of the ARCA Daytona races going all the way back to 2018. So 4 straight, looking for 5. Between us, I think they're going to get 5.
Yeah, I think they will. So it'll be fun for sure to watch that. All right. Now let's get that. I mean, I'm not saying ARCA is easy. Daytona is never easy because you never know. Now we're gonna get to some fun, because now I think we're gonna differentiate the picks a little bit. Truck, Xfinity, and Cup. Let's start with trucks, and I'm gonna go first this time. I think you never know what's gonna happen in these races, and you never know that Daytona is always this unpredictable of unpredictability, as it always is. Especially in that truck race, tear a lot of trucks up, especially last few years. I don't know if the trend will continue. I think, yeah, it probably will. But the biggest storyline from the truck series is people making moves over aggressiveness. Not sure that may play a role in it again, but one truck will survive, and that one truck is Christian Eckes. I will take him to win at Daytona.
All right. Christian Eckes, your pick there. This guy has come close at Daytona before, and he's always been a bit of an underdog, and he's a fan favorite as well. And I think that this year is going to be the year. It'll be his 3rd top 5. He's finished 2nd the last 2 years, but I think he'll do one better this year. I think Jordan Anderson is going to win the Truck Series race.
Look at that. Usually it's RJ coming with the upset picks, but look at you, buddy. Yeah, Jordan Anderson, of course, a lot of excitement around that team as well. Of course, Mike Snyder will be running full-time in Xfinity for them. Got a chance to talk to him a few weeks ago. Really, really excited about this. Of course, you might see Jordan run some Xfinity races as well. You never know. Speaking of the Xfinity series, let's go there. I think there's so many competitors in the Xfinity series this year. And I think that there's always a few of them that stand out from the rest. I think you know what's coming. For the first time this year, I get to say this. I'm going to stick with the Gibbs. Ty Gibbs going to get it done at Daytona.
Knew you were going to say that. And Ty, he won his first race in the Xfinity Series, not on the Super Speedway, but on the Road Course last year. That was a big win. That was a huge upset. One driver who I think is going to kick out this year, right? They've been amazing on the Super Speedways, and this is going to go to the moon, maybe?
Oh, boy.
You're gonna hate me for this pun.
Oh, boy.
I think Landon Castle's going to get it done, and Colleague's going to help him get it done.
Yeah, Landon Castle, of course, full time at Colleague Racing this year. It's going to be a fun performance as well to watch him at Colleague Racing. So you never know what's going to happen at Daytona. So and Ty Gibbs hasn't even been announced yet that he's going to run full time, but he is. But who knows? Time for the big one, Daytona 500, and you get to go first.
I get to go first. Okay. Well, this race, out of all the races we're picking here. I think this race is about the most wide open. We don't know what the next gen car is going to bring. We don't know, what this package is going to bring. Although we can assume it's going to be something similar to what we saw back in July with the drafting characteristics. And one driver who is always consistently good in the draft, but has never got it done in the Daytona 500. He has a lot of momentum heading into this season. Wouldn't it be great to start off the season with a berth in the playoff appearance? Berth in the playoffs?
Yeah.
Brad Kozlowski, he gets his first Daytona 500 win.
Of course, running for RFK, first, I think it'd be the first time the Roush team won since 2017. Awkwardly, it came at Talladega on the super speedway. Okay, my turn. So I feel like I'm on Undisputed now. So yeah. So I think one of the biggest things with this car is that, you can really it can level out the playing field a little bit. But one particular driver has been talked about with this car more times and more times and more times than I could even imagine.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone was talking about him. So you know what I did? I went and got an interview with him, and obviously he did. And basically he kind of talked about that. The leveling out of this car. I think you know who I'm talking about here, right? I'm gonna go with Tyler Reddick. He's gonna win his first Daytona 500 in that number 8 RCR car. So definitely gonna be fun.
And that would be his first win. It'd be a big first win. And of course, last year we saw Michael McDowell get his first win in the Daytona 500. Every year that ends with a 1. 2001, Michael Waltrip. 2011, Trevor Bayne. 2021, Michael McDowell. Break that a little bit. I don't think it's ever, I would have to look that up. I don't think it's ever been done where there's been 2 years in a row where the winner of the 500 was a first-time winner in the Cup Series. So that would be some history.
You have to look it up because we already did, though. A little bit there. Like that.
Yes. Bill, your brain.
Oh, yes. But it'll be an exciting Daytona 500 for sure. It's going to be a fun weekend. NASCAR is back. I hope you all enjoyed the LA Clash a few weeks ago. And by the way, I hope you enjoyed the Super Bowl on Sunday. It's definitely going to be here. Strap in because we have a preview show for you every single week until November, people. It's going to be fun. And yes, might be another person here too. I don't know. This guy will show up anytime he wants. He's always got a welcome invitation or something. I don't know why we keep letting him back on. But
I come in through the back door. You can see this door's open here.
I mean, yeah, it's always fun for sure. But myself and of course, it's kind of going back to the old days of how we're doing it. So of course, we've done this so many times, so it's always exciting to come back on here. And of course, we'll be back later this week. We got some more things to talk about. We got the Xfinity trucks, maybe throw in some ARCA stuff. I don't know. Maybe talk more about this Daytona 500. And of course, watch out and catch all the interviews I've done over time because we talked to Tyler Reddick, William Byron. We talked to some Xfinity guys like Sam Mayer and Myatt Snyder. Talked to some truck series guys, both GMS drivers and all 4 Nice Motorsports drivers. So that's going to be fun, right? Sure. To really kind of
and also, since you're dropping your plug, I have to drop my plug. Be sure to tune in to the raceexperts.com. We have some coverage coming from the 500. I'll have a couple articles up, one from Thad, the interview we did today, and Tommy Joe Martins as well.
Yeah, Dominic Aragon and Matt Corson are down there. Actually, Justin Mielo might be down there as well for you guys. So
Justin Mielo, yep. Matt Corson will be there with kicking the tires, doing some stuff as well.
Yep. Cole Cusimano's down there as well.
John Haverlin.
John Halverin's down there. That's always an adventure. Davies down there. RJ Starcevic, our previous show colleagues down at New Smyrna, getting ready for the ARCA East race for the Toby site. So fun stuff there. We got some more video content coming for you on this channel. If you like what you see, hit that subscribe button. We recently hit 350. We're at 352 right now. Want to get to as many subscribers as we can by the end of the year. And I always appreciate all of your support throughout this year, and as always throughout year covering NASCAR. So We'll talk to you later. Enjoy the Daytona 500 this weekend. We'll obviously be back on here for some other stuff.